Joining us now, a man that we talk to pretty much every year. Usually I talk to him after the draft, but we get him at the Combine right now. He is Steelers general manager for now, Kevin Colbert. He's made his intentions clear to retire after the draft. Kevin, first of all, welcome. Second, are you counting the days until it's over, or are you relishing every moment of this last ride?
You know what, Mike? We're so wrapped up in the draft process, you really can't think about it other than when Art Rooney and myself interview some candidates for the position. Our focus is really on unrestricted free agency, the draft, and you really don't have time to reflect on what may be happening afterwards. So we're really, our focus is right now just trying to do the best we can for our team this offseason and see where it goes.
You'd made it clear for the past several years that you were taking it 1 year at a time, signing one-year contracts. What made you decide now was the time to close the book on your time with the Steelers?
Well, my family and I, we've been talking about this really for those years when we've been doing one at a time, and Art was gracious enough to let us do that. Again, my focus was always try to make sure I stayed focused on the task at hand while doing that. And we just reached a point in our lives that personally it's the right thing for me and my family. And professionally, it's probably time for someone else to come in with some different ideas and bring some fresh perspectives to a way to accomplish this. And we're going to be open to that. And again, I'll try to help make that decision to best move forward for the organization.
Your perspective has always been good, just so you know. You're really one of the best GMs we've seen over the last, this current era in football. Stuff you've done with Pittsburgh, the Steelers. Like, when it's all said and done, I know you don't want to reflect too much, but like, what will you be most proud of? What aspect of building the team throughout your career as the GM will you be most proud of?
Well, when we think about the Steelers, we've been fortunate enough to have 6 Super Bowl championships, and us in New England have the same amount.
Right.
Having contributed to that that's satisfying to a degree. Not having more is dissatisfying.
Yeah, right.
And that challenge will always. That to do more will always be there, but we'll look back and obviously reflect on those times when we were fortunate enough to be Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, okay. All right. Now, the other thing like here we're talking about, of course, the Steelers, the big question is the quarterback. No Big Ben for the first time in forever. How much of a responsibility, maybe I should say, do you feel to set up the team in the future for the future in that position?
Chris, obviously Ben was a huge part of those 2 Super Bowl championships that I referenced, and not having him will be different.
It's got to be weird, right?
It'll be the first time in 18 years. And, when I came in, we didn't have Ben. We got him a few years into it. So we got to look at it as to what's next. We know he's not coming back. In previous years, it was he may not be coming back. Now we know for sure he isn't. So now we have some concrete ideas about what we need to do, and we'll be open to every option possible. We already have Mason Rudolph, Dwayne Haskins on the roster.
Right.
Will we look at trades? Absolutely. Will we look at free agency? Sure. We'll look at the draft, and we'll try to pick out the best way to maybe move on, because we know we are moving on for the first time in 18 years.
Hey, Kevin, it was a long 20 years between franchise quarterbacks for the Steelers, from Terry Bradshaw, who retired after '83, and then Ben arrives in 2004. Team still made it to a Super Bowl in between, but how relevant and how conscious is the organization of that 20 years without franchise quarterbacks? How relevant is that as you go forward into this next phase of trying to find someone post-Ben?
Again, Mike, we know that's realistic. I mean, it's real. Ben is not here. How do we bridge that gap? That will be our challenge as we do it. But what we won't do is we won't make false evaluations based on that and try to make somebody into a franchise quarterback that we don't envision as one. I don't think, going into that draft, when the 1 year we had a losing season, we were very fortunate. There were 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks available, and we were able to get one of them. Is that going to be the case this year? I don't know. Again, we'll look at every avenue, but we're not going to deem a guy a franchise quarterback. They have to do that after they join your team, and hopefully we make the right decisions for a player that can help us win a Super Bowl somewhere down the road.
Beyond quarterback, what's your biggest objective as you enter this final free agency period and draft?
I think we have to continue to grow. We have some young folks at various positions. Offensive line, we have some young players that need to take the next step. Defensive line, we have some veteran players that we hope can hang on and keep giving us the high level of play that they have. We need the linebackers to play better than they did last year. We talk about Devin Bush refinding himself after the knee surgery.
Right.
So we got some replacements to make in the secondary. We have some growth, what still has to happen at the wide receivers, tight ends, and running back. So I guess in general, we just want to take the next step with the young players we have and hope that the veteran players can continue to give us what they have, even at the level, even though they're further along in their careers.
Kevin, like you look at the team, the roster, you brought up a lot of things there. Yeah, there's some spots that are young or might need some work or improvement like you talked about. But, will the current state of the team, and I know you said all options are open for the quarterback position, but like me as an outsider looking in, not that I know everything about football, but I go, damn, the team's not that far off. Do they really want to do the rookie quarterback thing with this football team? And I guess that's what I'm asking is, do you err on, yes, we'd like to find somebody more established right now with this football team, or are you really true to your word? It's a blank canvas.
Again, we got to measure what a veteran would cost us from a draft pick compensation.
So that's part of it, of course.
And what
right.
player, again, when we talk about trades, we never just say, okay, it's a first and a third.
Yeah.
We say it's player A and player B. Are we going to be better, or we will be better with an unrestricted guy and those players still in tech? So we got to make all those decisions, and we just can't lock up and say we need a vet. We can take a rookie, because we're never going to say we don't want to compete. The objective will always be to compete for a Super Bowl. We'll never talk about rebuilding, retooling, anything along those lines. We want to win a Super Bowl, and we'll just try to make the best decisions we can.
Right. Now, other thing, outside the football field a little bit, Brian Flores being hired. That's a big deal in the NFL, certainly. Really good coach. Talk to us a little bit about, what was behind and what made that the right thing for the Steelers.
Brian has talked about, he reached out to Coach Tomlin for some guidance. Coach offered him the position. Hey, what would you think about coming? Coach came to me, said, I think I'm going to hire Brian Flores. And I said, great. He's a young, successful NFL head coach, Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator.
A lot of Mike Tomlin qualities, really.
And the thing I really liked about Brian, the first thing I talked to him when he came in our building, he started off in the personnel world.
Oh, yeah.
So I think I do believe there's some fresh perspectives, not only he can bring to us as a coach, but also from the personnel. So he's had success. We think he'll be a huge addition to our organization.
Right.
And, Kevin, I think it's awesome that you guys added Brian Flores, but I'm very curious. When you consider his lawsuit, the allegations he's making against the league, some strong accusations against teams like the Dolphins, the Broncos, the Giants, maybe the Texans to be added to it, how do you compartmentalize that as an organization? Because it could create some awkwardness with Art Rooney's partners around the league having on the payroll a guy who's making these accusations against the other teams.
Yeah, honestly, it's about what Brian Flores can do for us from this point forward. Everything else that has nothing to do with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You mentioned the NFL, so on and so forth. But in our minds, Brian's coming in. He's got a fresh start with us. And again, I'm sure he can help us as an organization.
Now, when you retire, are you retired, or are you Brett Favre, Tom Brady retired?
Those two, maybe. I can't put myself in their realm, but we've left the door open, myself and Art and Coach, and we'll make. I don't want to be hindering anybody's growth if they come into this position. Can I help and not hinder? We'll leave that open, and we'll understand where it is once we make those decisions. But I certainly don't want to be in anybody's way. If I can contribute, great. If not, then so be it, and we'll all move on.
I can't imagine hinder ever being associated with Kevin Colbert, given everything you've accomplished.
No way.
We look forward to the next act following the retirement. We expect to still see you around, and maybe we'll be talking to you again down the road. Thanks, as always, for some of your time. Congratulations on all your success.
Thanks, Mike.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights From NBC Sports.